Trustees of February 8th, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of
of the United States of America
and to
and
the
to the republic
which
for
is
which it stands,
nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My fault.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, so will Secretary Treasurer Horace please call the roll?
President Eric Schultz,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz, obviously I am here. Trustee Edward J. Warner Jr.,
Present.
Trustee William Pell, fourth,
Present.
and Trustee Ann Welker.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a quorum today.
Very good. Okay, next trustee meeting, work session is on February 24th, 2021 at 3 p.m. And the regular meeting is on March 1st, 2021 at 1 p.m. First item on the for discussion is the water quality improvement funding for Sag Pond inlet management and aquatic habitat restoration, which Ann Welker is going to talk about.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Congratulations, Scott, Grandpa, first of all,
Thank you.
straight out of the gate. As you all know, the Water Quality Fund is funding, was awarded to the trustees and set residents of Sag Pond, or to manage Sag Pond. And within that award is research by Dr. Christopher Gobler and cut openings, as well as a Sagaponic Pond management plan. So we have now concluded 1 year of cut opening and research, and we are looking to move forward with putting out bids for the request for proposal for the management plan. So I'm looking to all of you for your suggestions as to what you would like to see in this management plan, so that then we can take that and concoct a bid so that it can go out to interested parties who might wish to be awarded the bid to generate this management plan. So what are some of your thoughts around that?
Well, we don't have any really shellfish population in there, do we, Ed?
No, not that. I mean, Chris Gobler has put some oysters in there to see if it would be feasible to grow them. At times, it's been at a zero salinity for weeks, if not months. So I don't believe the oysters would survive any prolonged period of time. But he's going to, I believe, Ann, correct me if I'm wrong, he's going to get back to us with on his research project that the oysters that are in there now and how they have survived through some period of time here, correct?
Yes. But Eric, that's exactly the kind of thing that we're looking for, is what we would like to see either continue or happen in the future for Sag Pond. What else?
You have the fish management.
And it could kind of, so when you say fish management, expand on that a
You
little
got
bit.
perch in there, carp in there. You got the blue claw crabs in there, what people go fishing for.
So sort of a fishery survey, as well as,
make sure it's a healthy stock.
okay. So
Well,
a survey.
Yeah,
of the
there's
fish.
also eels in there. There's also bunkers, alewives, herring, flounder, fluke at times. So if we did a survey of what fish were in there, we could better manage the salinity to maybe accommodate fish stocks that are in there, instead of letting it go to zero for a long period of time, or letting the blue-green algae get so bad that the possible, a fish kill in there. So if we know what we're managing, it makes it that much easier.
Okay.
And that's a good point, Ed, because if we manage it and be able to open it more often, then the oysters will grow.
Yes. Then
you might get some razor clams in there too, and steamers.
Yes, because there were steamer shell remnants of steamer population in there about 20 years ago. So I don't know.
Yeah. So you might start a new fisheries there, or regenerate it.
It's uncertified, but if the shellfish reestablish themselves, they would purify
Help
the
clean
water
it.
and clean the water. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, and
Well,
also the blue
we'll
green
have to
algae.
find out if it's feasible also, because Sag Pond is at a different elevation than Mecox.
Correct.
Say that again, Eric. What was the first thing you said?
Sag Pond is at a different elevation than Mecox.
Right. But what was the first thing? I missed that.
So you would have to figure out if you did open it more, is it going to flush the same way as Mecox is going to do? Is it worth all those additional flushes if it's at a different topographical height?
So
You're going to achieve your goals of establishing a healthy fishery. Because most of the time, Sag was just drained. I don't think there's as much. It's just not as much interaction with water as there is in Mecox, is there?
So that speaks to 2 points then, Eric. One would be the continuation of the continuous water quality monitoring. So in other words, a buoy or stations like we have in Mecox that would give us salinity, dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll A, which is the indicator of harmful algal bloom, or perhaps even an indicator of the microcystin. So something along those lines to indicate whether there is in fact flushing, as well as tidal inflow, as well as flush. And the other thing would be something that Baconic Land Trust is looking at now is groundwater study. And I think that would also speak to your concerns, I believe. So that's something that we could totally look into. What else? What about the uses of the pond?
Well, I mean, it is a big area for crabbing in the summertime, paddleboard, kayaking, and that's pretty much as far as I know, what goes on in it, maybe kiteboarding. But as far as I think it has very limited uses. Maybe some snapper fishing if there's some juvenile bluefish in there. But really, I think it's a limited resource, much more so than Mecox.
But
Right.
there is some commercial fishing that does go on there.
Yes.
Because and that's mostly by seine net.
There's a couple guys that do haul seine for perch and carp in there. And there's several guys that do eel fishing with pots and crab potting in there in the summertime. Very limited because it's not a big resource.
It's small, right? Right.
And we have had it closed to crabbing on a couple occasions because of the blue-green algae and the crabs actually being contaminated or possible contamination with the blue-green algae. So we also have to take in consideration the water quality certain times of the year, that if it's tainted with blue-green algae, some of the fish might not be edible in there. I mean, I'm not saying if they are or aren't because I'm not the scientist, but I think we should definitely look into that also. Because I remember when Bobby Lester was doing the haul seining of the carp and perch in Agawam, and he was selling them. And Chris Goebel said that they could possibly be contaminated with blue-green algae. So basically it went from a food fish to basically a fish that was put into a landfill. So we have to do that water sampling for an indication of the water quality during certain harvest seasons.
Okay.
You might want to do some sediment samples to see how much nitrogen and phosphorus is locked up in the sediments or heavy metals. And possibly, I don't know whether it contributes to it too much, but the overgrowth of Phragmites in the system too.
And
Yeah,
possibly, oops, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, but I mean, we have done a couple of projects as far as Phragmites remediation in there and pushing the Phragmites out of the pond because it's literally growing into the pond. And eventually that pond will disappear if it keeps at the
Right.
rate it's going.
Right.
So that would be something to encourage homeowners to do these projects in cooperation with us, the DEC, and maybe the conservation board in the town. So like, and then re-veg it with natural vegetation.
Yeah.
So under actions then that homeowners could take would be the Phragmites that they might have to work some that would not be under our jurisdiction but to encourage those, and also the upgraded installation of the IA septic systems to have them educated and assisted with installing those. And what about PRBs, the permeable reactive barriers? Because there's a discussion with Peconic Land Trust. They own a large piece of land that borders the pond, and they're possibly looking into installing a PRB.
Well,
I'm
that's
sure
what the
it couldn't hurt.
That's definitely
Yeah.
where the groundwater sampling would take place. And if it was on the Peconic Land Trust property and they found that there was excessive, nutrients coming in there, then I would definitely like to partner with them and do a project with the PRB because we got blue-green algae and that shows degraded water and there's a excessive amount of nutrients in there. So I think that could be a win-win with us and the Peconic Land Trust partnering together.
Without a doubt. Didn't Dr. Goldberg, didn't they say that they had an issue with part of their project at an earlier meeting that they attended with the die-off of some oysters? Am I recalling that correctly there?
Yes,
Right?
with oysters, yes. He did 2 lots of them this summer. He lost the first bunch, but the second bunch, I believe, survived. And
yeah,
then,
a PRB. If they deem it that's a good spot for that, and they want to engage in that, I see that as a good thing.
I believe the oysters were lost because of the low salinity. Oysters can only survive maybe 3 or 4 days or maybe a week at most with zero salinity. After that, then they're not going to survive. So, we have done some projects in there. I think they've gotten some information. So we would need to incorporate that information in the management plan.
Rated water quality is a good thing.
Also, we would want to encourage any stormwater remediation that might be done, again, outside of our jurisdiction, but important.
Is that like working with the village? Does the village do the stormwater remediation or does the highway department do the stormwater remediation down there?
I'm not sure because half of it would be Sagaponic Village. The other half would be town of Southampton.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, but we would just be encouraging these things. We wouldn't be the ones that actually made this happen. The other thing would be also on the part of the Lake Pondfront homeowners would be to encourage and educate people about buffers, the naturally vegetated buffers, because there are quite a few lawns that go right down to the pond. They're very nice green lawns.
That's not good.
That go right down to the pond. So that also is a bit of now, one thing that has been done successfully in Georgia is to use the aquatic harvester for the removal of the macroalgae. That would be something that could be looked into, perhaps, because,
Is there macroalgae that's prevalent in there?
right,
I mean, lily pads and stuff like that would be considered macroalgae, or
okay,
like a cabbage or something like that that grows in the salt water. So that would be something that Chris Goldberg could furnish us information upon,
right,
and then we can make a decision on that.
right.
Because I don't ever remember there being any lily pads in Sag Pond.
No.
I mean, you might get some occasional widgeon grass, which is similar to an eelgrass, but it's much smaller, stems on it, and that only happens occasionally.
Okay, so that's something to be looked into, certainly. Also, the reduction in the use of fertilizers. Most of that was like, there's a lot of legacy nutrients coming from the predominance of farmland that surrounded the pond, but now there are quite a few homes, so some education and some addressing of the fertilizer use would also be beneficial, I think.
And one thing that should be taken in account is literally that pond can flush out in 24 hours, where Mecox now you're looking at, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 days of time flushing out. So a good flush in Sag would relieve a lot of the nutrients that were in the water column, not so much in the bottom.
Right. Right. What about any future actions or future research, things that we might suggest or ask other things to be looked into? Maybe some things that are being done in other places in the town or on the East End. What pops into my head is the floating wetlands that we're just that we have in Mill Pond, perhaps looking into them for SAG. Is there anything else?
I don't know.
I think you.
Salinity situation down there. I don't know. You'd have to. I don't know how many plants could survive.
Salt to fresh and fresh to salt.
I think we got a clear picture of what we're dealing with first, and then come up with some suggestions how bad certain things are, so we can remediate it. Is there a group of homeowners that are interested in showing interest in forming a committee to work on cleaning up the pond?
No, not a committee. They're already working with Peconic Land Trust. So
Okay.
this will all be in, and this management plan would also incorporate the research that Peconic Land Trust is doing, and help guide not only the trustees, but the residents that the land trust is managing.
And I have one thing to say. I think we'd be better off, more bang for the buck, if we concentrated on the Phragmites remediation and kind of like put the floating islands off. I think there's a lot more Phragmites that is going to be invasive in there, intruding, and I think pushing them back and taking them out with working with the homeowners, I think it would be a much bigger benefit to that pond, putting natural indigenous species on a larger planning scale than just a couple of islands in there. I think we get a lot more, for our money in there. That's just a thought.
Okay. Well,
This
that's
amount
fine.
of organic material, as this stuff rots down, is so prolific. It rots down and enters the water column. From the Phragmites dying off. Huge amount.
It's actually intruded in the pond there, some almost 10 or 20 feet in some of the places since I've been on the board, Eric. So that's how fast it's filling that pond in.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially up at the north end. Okay, does anybody else have anything that, because keep in mind that these would all be, or what we're looking at here too is parameters that would work with the cut opening. So things that would help guide the cut openings so that we can marry all of this together. So that,
Do you have a gauge in there now?
there is a gauge on the bridge itself, but it's not certified. So that's probably another thing that needs to be added.
Gauge as far as height of the water in the pond?
Yep. Like
Right.
a certified one,
Yeah.
because there's just the,
Can
Go
we
ahead, Ed.
correlate that to the one that we have at Mill Pond? So we know that the height of the water and the pond height difference between Sag and Mecox?
explain that a little more.
Well, I mean, we know we use a gauge in Mill Pond for opening, closing, Middle Bay. We have one in Sag. Now, Sag is a little bit different elevation. And as far as opening it and draining it, can we use the somehow do a survey on the height so we can correlate the two of them together? So when the Army Corps or the DEC asks us how we came up with these gauge heights and had them, you know what I mean,
Hey, Ed.
quantified, I guess you'd say.
Yes,
Ed, you would have to hire a survey to do it, to give you a benchmark for both of them. Like,
Yeah, then
same thing as like when you build a house, or what height you want your foundation. You have a benchmark, and they can do that for us.
Yeah, you can, like you
big-
did at Mecox, you got the NAVD.
Right.
For the last plan, you could do that with
Yeah.
SAG as well.
That's why I'm moving it over to SAG now, because they had questioned the NAVD in Mecox, and that was an issue. We needed to determine where it stood on the height of the ocean, I guess. So we would do the same thing for SAG, and we can
Right.
correlate the two together to see like if the height of the pond and how much elevation difference the pond actually is.
Right.
I think there's some information, and I'm going to have to get back to you on this, Ed, but I think the USGS has information along those lines as far as elevations and so forth.
Okay.
So, yeah, because I know I've read a little bit about that, but that's a good thing to look into. Is there anything else that we can take from what we know, what we've done in the past with Mecox or with SAG that we could also, or with Mill Pond, with this past study with Mill Pond, that we could incorporate into SAG?
I don't know. I think that's about it. That's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot, you guys.
It is a
That's
lot.
complex.
But remember, this would all be, a history you'd probably want to start it off with some sort of history of SAG, and there would be some what should be done as far as research, and then what should be done as far as actions, and then what should be done as future actions. So Sag Pond didn't, like any of the other water bodies, Sag Pond didn't get the way it is overnight, and it's going to take a little while to unwind its status as one of the most heavily impacted water bodies in the town as far as harmful algal blooms. But I think this plan and incorporating the cut openings and the water quality monitoring and some actionable items is a really great move forward. But you're right, Eric, it's not going to, it kind of one thing at a time. But I think with all of these impacted water bodies that we have to look, it's critical that we look at multi-pronged approaches to address the inputs as well as the impacts on the ponds. Okay, thanks you guys.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Okay. So the next item is the kayak, canoe, stand-up paddleboard storage rack permit. Who's that?
Jess, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can. So I sent you guys, I drew up an application based on the code and the input that I've received from you all so far. Obviously, it's just a draft application, so I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to review it. I sent it to your emails. Just looking for some input from you guys based on the requirements, on the application if there's any changes that you want made. Two of the locations, and I think that they're close to being finalized if they're not finalized already, that I put on the applications. It was one east of the canal and one west of the canal. One is at 22 Little Neck Road, Shinnecock Hills. And then the other one is Oakhurst Road, Hampton Bays. And
Although, Jess, can I just interrupt for a sec?
yes,
I just wanted to point out, being that this is the first year and that it's a pilot project, although many different locations were suggested, to start off, we wanted to use two that were trustee owned and that were both safe. And then going forward, let's see how it goes this year. And then going forward, there are a ton more suggestions for different places. So let's
Okay.
start out with these two, probably one rack in each location. So 16 spots total. But let's see how it goes. But for this year, just two.
okay, perfect. So you guys set the fee and the fee schedule for $100 for a resident fee. There was also mention in the code of a senior citizen discount. So I think a few of you gave me feedback for $75, which I believe I talked to Lisa and Sean about. We actually need to amend the fee schedule to add that. And then also we need to amend the fee schedule anyway to add the two locations because that's how they're being offered. So I think that's being done at the March 1st meeting. And other than that, I just want to go through the requirements really quickly with you guys, and then hopefully we can move on to the next subject. Basically, we're going to require an application from these people. We're going to require non-refundable fee, which is what I just mentioned. Proof of residency. This is a program for residents only. And indemnification and hold harmless. I added that because it's in most of our other applications. I wasn't sure how you all felt about having that in there.
Sean, would
I'm
we
going to
need?
advise you to put that in there. I've already spoken with Jessica about it.
Okay,
I agree.
The fifth item would be a color photograph of the kayak, canoe, or stand-up paddleboard. We felt that that was a good idea because, you know, there's no other like identifying features on the, you know, a regular boat with a registration would have a, you know, registration number on it. For these people, they don't, these aren't registered items. And then the senior citizen discount would require an ID for proof of age. So that's what I have so far. And the rules and regulations, I also copied and pasted and attached that into the application packet as well, with all of the time frames of when the program starts, which would be April 1st. When it ends, I believe it's at October 31st, and then they have to have everything out of these racks by November 5th.
Hey,
That
Jessica,
sounds-
I don't know if I heard you or not. Did you say that has to have that each item has to have a sticker on it with a name?
So it wouldn't be with their name. I mean, we can add their name. This is the sticker that I used for,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if you guys can see, sorry. This
It looks pretty good.
is an example that I have from the dock slip program. This is what we issue for the dock slip people. So I kind of figured that this would be the best thing. Obviously, and I'm not sure if it's backwards to you guys, but there would
no, we
be.
can read it.
Oh, it's fine.
So this has a boat registration number on it. So obviously that would be taken off. So there's just a permit number, a slip number, which would, I guess, be like a spot. We would need to maybe number these spots
Yeah.
on the rack and just the location. So it's very straightforward. If you want us to maybe add their name and where the boat registration number, I don't know if that's like too much information, you know, these are going to be like out in public. So I don't know what
I
you
don't
guys.
think I don't think the kayaks and paddleboards have registration numbers on them.
No.
They don't.
No. So I'm going to have to remove that.
Some
But
of
you
them have some of them have serial numbers.
But
Okay.
a name would be good because if they're floating in the bay and it could be accountable in case someone fell off of it, or, you know, I'm trying to make these things accountable for, you know, in case someone gets hurt or something, or falls over, or it drifts off, so we know where it belongs.
Would you like
Constables
me
also have additional stickers too.
Would you like me to put the name where the boat registration is now, because I'm going to remove that? Is
That's
that
probably a good idea.
okay?
I think that's great. And
Yeah.
Jess, I know I asked you this, but I just looked quickly when you responded. It's going to say on the application that all of these items have to be locked, right? That they're responsible for the safety and so forth of their own.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything
equipment.
put in
We're
the
not.
code about that right now, but I can definitely add that to the application.
So that it says that they have to have a lock on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to be responsible for that.
How, what kind of lock would it be? Just,
Like a
don't-
bike lock?
It's up to them.
okay,
I would not put that in it. I would just say something like it has to be secured.
Yeah, then that covers it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because if you
Okay.
put a lock on it, then it like, oh, we locked it up and someone, broke the lock, We don't want
Sean,
Right, either way, we made it explicitly clear the trustees are not responsible for lost or stolen property. They're doing this at their own risk with a trustee permit with permission to use the trustee storage. There's no way here that the trustees are going to be liable.
I would just put secure then.
Right, if we want to tell them to lock it or not, I think that's really their prerogative to protect their own
Yeah.
property.
I do have one question. The paddles that are going to be used, should they be taken away when the people leave, brought home with them, or can we have them left there?
And that's your call.
Up to them?
I think, Ed, I think that would be up to them. Some paddles are very cheap and some paddles are very expensive. They
They're
go like,
expensive, Billy.
yeah, they're like $500, $1,000 for a paddle.
Yeah, the carbon fiber.
Yeah, so most people will bring the paddles home.
Okay,
Some people leave the paddles there.
okay.
But I
Just
would
wanted-
just make sure, but I would say secure because you do want them tied down so the wind doesn't blow them or if you get a really high tire or something,
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
how would
Yep.
you like me to word this on the application? Just like, please secure your personal items, paddles, and,
Yeah,
Sean-
all items got to be secured.
Must be.
Must be secured.
Huh.
Sean can probably help you with that, Jess. And we can take a look at the way the
East
East Hampton permit reads as well.
yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Because I'm really close to being done with it.
Okay. All right. I'll
But
touch
that
base
would be
with you.
helpful.
That's cool. I'll touch
Thank
base
you.
with you tomorrow.
Right.
There was one more thing I wanted to mention about this, but it just slipped my mind. Oh, how many, do you guys know did Marine Maintenance start building these and how many are gonna be at each? How many
The way
spots are gonna be on each rack?
the way they're designed with stockade fence, there are 8 kayaks per rack. So if we started out with 8 in each location, so 16 total.
And that will accommodate canoes, paddleboards, and kayaks, each
One.
one, okay. Okay. All right, sounds good. I think we're in pretty good shape. And then on March 1st, you guys will just amend the fee schedule to add the 2 locations and the senior citizen discount.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you,
Thank
Jessica.
you. Thanks,
good job,
guys.
Jeff.
Have you had a bunch of inquiries, Jess?
Haven't had
about
any
these?
inquiries about the kayak, canoe, stand-up paddleboard racks yet. But I think that's just because we haven't really been doing too much,
Outreach, yeah.
We can
Right.
put it out.
Yeah, like I can,
Right.
once we're like done, I would like to put it on, social media page if you guys want to do that.
Sure.
100%.
Whatever else you guys want to do, I'm happy to do. Just let me know.
People are focused on a snowstorm every other day right now.
Yeah.
Or their new grandson.
Yeah.
Ah,
True.
So I think that's it for this program. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
You're welcome, Jess.
So are you
Thank
handling,
you.
Jessica, you handling the commercial harvester permit sticker too?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that too. So similarly, I sent an email around. Let me just pull it up, sorry. I worked on this on Friday. I sent around an email. This is the sticker. Very straightforward. The year, this is their commercial shellfish license number on here. And so this would be the permit for each boat. And then I also drafted a very, very straightforward letter.
Yep.
That just says, please place the sticker on the left side of the boat to the right of the New York State registration numbers. Please see diagram below. There's like a little boat with a diagram of where to put it. And then it just says, if you need any additional information or any commercial harvester permits, please call or visit our office. Each additional permit sticker has a cost of $20. The first permit is complimentary with the commercial shellfish license. And that's kind of where I left it off, just pretty simple and straightforward for this year. And then Ed had talked about adding the registration numbers for these boats next year, but we've already issued 42 commercial shellfish licenses. So I figured I'll just run a report for those guys, send a free sticker in the mail with that letter. If they need any additional ones, they'll get them. And then next year we can move forward, I think, with requiring a registration if that's what you guys all want to do.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Registration number.
Good.
I
sounds
think
good.
it's pretty seamless. Thank you, Jess.
Okay, no problem.
Thank to everybody in the office too, IT and everybody.
Thank you.
No,
I will.
IT is fabulous. They're fantastic people, hardworking. They do a great job for the trustees and for everybody in the town for that matter. So hats
Yeah.
off to them and everybody else.
I will let
Miss-
them know.
Thank you, Jess. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we just also discuss what a terrific job our road maintenance did last night plowing and chopping down trees?
Yes, I'm going to bring that up there. They had to take trees down, and we're out pretty much all night long because our equipment is smaller, so it has to be done with multiple passes. It's not as big as the highway trucks. Did a great job.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Yes.
Looking out for public safety. They do a fabulous job.
And they were
One-
again this morning, doing more sanding.
One thing that might be helpful would be, I'm not sure who coordinates this, but if whoever is using the big truck, if they could have access to the gas pump that's at North Sea rather than having to go back to Hampton Bays. Because that was one thing that was pointed out to me because I bumped into them last night. So it just took them a while. They were doing a great job.
Oh,
Our
okay.
Yeah.
roads looked a little better than the highway department's roads.
Rich is head of maintenance, so it would have to go through Rich.
Okay,
I can ask him when I talk to him later.
okay, cool.
I had a long discussion with him this morning on this issue. Okay.
Great.
Okay. Before we start the public portion, I know there's a lot of people in the community that have read 27 East and are very concerned with the adverse ruling that East Hampton Town trustees got regarding parking on the beach. I just want to address it briefly, that we have a executive session with our attorney, our outside counsel, that we're going to discuss this issue today and how it affects us. We also have an executive meeting with the town board on Thursday, and this is one of the areas of controversy that we're going to talk about. But I'd just like to assure the public a little bit that we're going to vigorously keep on top of this. We're in a slightly different situation as East Hampton is. East Hampton was, even though we share similar situation where private ownership extends down to the high water mark, we have an easement where actually the East Hampton trustees sold the beach rights years ago, and their easement isn't as large as ours. And I'll just, this was started out as a case, it's called the Betts case. It was 1898 that the town trustees at that time tried to claim the beach as that the trustees owned it, but the court ruled against us. But it was one of the, in the testimony, how times do not change. In 1898, the president of the Board of Trustees was asked on the stand, the question was this area ever used as a bathing place, this particular spot? And his answer was, well, till the city people came there, every man that wanted to build a little shanty and put it on the beach. But after they came, they didn't think it suitable to bathe with the country people, and they cleaned them out. And that's in 1898. That's the testimony in that case. What came out of that in the court, when it went to the Court of Appeals, was that they defined the area of controversy, and they stated the following: that the evidence shows that this beach or seashore, as were any other beach lands in the town, was used for sea fishing and purposes incidental thereto. That's the same thing that basically East Hampton's got. However, ours is expanded for watching of whales and purposes connected with their catch, for bathing, and for carting away wreckage deposited. Boats were hauled up and kept upon the shore, seines were spread out upon it, and persons passed and repassed and occupied themselves upon it in ways which would be usual to the inhabitants of a fishing village or settlement. So it's a little deeper than, a lot more deeper than East Hampton's, and I assure the public that we're going to be discussing this as a very important issue in our town. We realize that, and we're on top of it.
Thank you.
Thanks
We are.
for
Thank you,
noting
Eric.
that, Eric.
Okay? That
Thanks
was,
for putting that out to the public like that. I think
Yeah.
it'll make it a little bit more, a better explanation of what we're dealing with versus East Hampton.
Mhm.
You know, especially on a day where I'm a new grandfather, and you know, I've talked about this for a long time. You know, these are uses and these are traditions and historical practices that have gone on for generations, and I think they need to be preserved for the generations. It's the primary reason I sit as a trustee. So, thank you for reading that in. Appreciate
So-
that.
So back in 1971, that Betts case was challenged again, Dolphin Lane Associates versus the trustees, and it was affirmed. So we have two affirmations of the same easement here. So we'll keep the public updated.
But
Okay.
Thank you.
to your point, Eric, I think that's good that you're distinguishing the ownership and the difference of ownership versus easement between Southampton and East Hampton Town trustees.
Well, the East Hampton trustees hold an easement also, similar, but it only says, from what I have found out so far, relates to fishing, where ours is, and that was a easement that was in a deed. This is a court case where the Court of Appeals, it wasn't just the Supreme Court, but the Court of Appeals affirmed what our rights on the beach were. And then in 1971, when it was challenged again, it went to the Court of Appeals and it was reaffirmed in the Dolphin Lane case. Two very important cases.
It sounds very much broader. Ours sounds very much broader than East Hampton's. And when I first read East Hampton in the newspaper, I was very concerned because they did cite the similar and other actions that we have undertaken versus for the hardening structures.
Right.
But this is way different than hardening structures. This isn't,
Right.
you know, so we'll sit with our attorney this afternoon and
Yep.
discuss it.
This conversation is going to move into executive in nature.
Yeah.
Where,
Yes.
you know, we're working on it, but we can't work on it in the public purview. And it's also, in my opinion, the type of issue that, you know, all elected officials in the town of Southampton need to stand shoulder to shoulder in doing the best that they can to preserve the traditions of all of the, you know, people in our community and preserve the economic engine to our township as well. So that being said, I think we're going to move into executive. So
And also you have to recognize that there's several incorporated villages that I believe they should take the same stance as the township and the trustees. I
Well,
know
they
historically they had, you know, been a little adversarial about this, but I think it's time for everybody to band together here.
well, listen, the reality is that the majority of the people that live in the villages do not live on the ocean coast. They live in the interior parts of the villages and they like to enjoy the entire beach. And then, you know, from my understanding and reading of prior court cases, you know, if there's a problem or an action that needs to be taken on a beach, even if it's in the village, it has to be brought by the Southampton Town Board of Trustees because we hold that easement. So the reality is that, again, all elected officials need to stand shoulder to shoulder to make sure they preserve the traditions for the generations that want to access the water, use the beach for whatever recreation that they want, you know, whether it's the fishing or flying a kite, whatever it is. We need to
Right.
do what we got to do. So again, we're going to move into exec.
Yep.
So we probably should take care of the permits and the housekeeping. And I know there are other people that want to speak during public
I know,
portion.
I just wanted to brief the public that we're on top of things.
Great job.
Okay,
Thank you, Eric.
thanks. Okay, public portion. We have anybody for public portion?
Is there anybody there, Charles?
Yeah,
Right.
Tiffany Gavin.
course.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Is it redirecting?
You're in.
We hear you. We got
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Congratulations, Mr. Horowitz, on becoming a
Oh,
grandpa.
thank you.
That's very exciting. It's really great.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Warner's grandbaby's going to have some competition.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll take each other out fishing.
So I just want to, I'm hoping everybody's well and feeling well and in good health. And thank you for your time and speaking to me. Just want to direct some attention to what's going on. The problem is continuing to get worse and is traveling further west. Because that landslide is blocking, the shoal is continuing to grow in length, in height, and in depth. And as the high tide water comes in, it doesn't have the opportunity to pass, to come down to flush the canal because the landslide is blocking it. So the material that's coming from Paynes Creek and crashing towards the shoal is now getting caught there and is growing and is impeding the Deepwater dock at 69. So I know that at our last conversation that you were expecting a plan from the homeowner, and it's been
Right.
well over a month. So do you have any updates or information that you could?
As a matter of fact, I do.
You do, Mr. Schultz.
Okay, so I've been in touch with the attorney for the landowner, and we have received a proposal of what they want to do at the site.
Okay.
Concerning a low sill bulkhead. Okay. Have to review this with the town conservation board. And
Okay.
once we concur on if it's acceptable to both boards, the proposal, then we'll go ahead and tell them to apply for a formal application to the trustees. We just received that this morning.
What about the dredging?
We'll need a full review of this proposal before we
Full
can.
review.
Yeah.
Information.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta,
It's acceptable.
we as a board haven't even got to see it, so it's that
Right.
fresh.
So this is-
So
Yeah.
with regard to the plan, are you able to say if there is dredging part of this
So-
remediation plan that they're putting forward?
The trustees as a board have just received this proposal.
Okay.
We need a full review with their environmental analyst before we can speak to the.
Yeah. I will, what I will say is that I'm going to talk to Mr. Ludlow and forward him a copy of it, and then we'll talk about it. And it's basically the same thing as if a property owner comes to, gives us a call and says, can you please come down and take a look at our property and see what my options are. So they proposed, they sent in a proposed drawing of a low sill bulkhead, and we're going to take a look at it. And then if that's okay with his conservation board and us, our board, then we'll make him come in. He's ready to make a formal application, and then we will dictate how much reclamation or amount of fill or plantings or any other items involved. This is a preliminary sketch on their part. So I expect this to move along pretty quickly now.
That's great. You guys did a great job. With regard to, it sounds like that's more on their property. What about the damage they did to your property affecting our riparian rights and everything? That would be part of the dredging.
Well, yeah, well, the first step is to prevent the migration of silts and sediments into the water column, and that's what we're interested in. And that's what we were interested in the first place when we asked them to present some plan. So we will determine how much fill and where it's come from and to what extent.
And when you're saying the environmental analyst, is there a different one than Marty Shea?
Our
Yes.
environment.
Ours.
Oh,
Jerry
you have
Ray
your own.
actually is the trustee's environmental analyst. So he'll review this as well. There is Mr. Shea, who you've become familiar with, but we do need their opinions as well as both boards. So there needs to be a full review, and this is a consultation, then a formal application will follow.
Can I make one comment that once we receive the application, that we would immediately put it out for, a public hearing so that we can gather comments from everybody in the area and any other concerned parties, so that this is very transparent and it goes, quickly and it goes in the right direction. That would be what I would recommend as one of the trustees.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep,
Absolutely. A lot
As
of
soon as-
public concern on this application.
yes, as soon as you receive a formal application, we'll set a public hearing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay? So-
And one further question, I don't know if you could even answer this yet, because have they done any testing to decide where they could put the spoils? Like, do they know
That's-
where they can? They have done, that's
something
part
I
of
have
the,
to review and get back to you on.
that's
don't-
part of it. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you
Well,
for your time.
we need James to review that first before we give you.
I understand. I totally understand. It sounds like very new information. And again, you guys did a great job in procuring this and bringing it here. And we're very anxious because it's a detriment right now.
So we it's off the plate, get it done.
Thank you. Good job.
Okay, we'll be talking to you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Congratulations again, Mr. Horowitz.
Thank you.
Hey, George. Okay, George.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think that Tiffany covered all the issues, and that I'll wait and see for the plan, and appreciate the trustees taking such a close look at this. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else from the public, please raise your hand. No other hands.
Okay.
Charles, Travis Muller had wanted to speak. Is he not
He's
on
there.
yet?
He's on.
Would he speak during public portion?
Yeah.
Would he speak during his application?
It's because the time to speak is at the work
He's
session.
coming on now. Travis.
Hello.
There you go.
So,
Hello?
Hello.
yes, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just going off of being denied the spot that we've been talking about, that was a spot, as in unsafe shooting directions from another blind or pedestrian or, other areas. Looking at doing my own research, there's 6 blinds that are shooting in the direction of other blinds that are all closer than what I'm trying to go for. They're all under 867 feet, and that's the new spot to the nearest blind that I'm trying to go for. There's also 7 blinds shooting in the direction of houses that are all under the same distance that I'm shooting for. There's 2 new blinds that were not spots back in years ago when I applied and another buddy applied, and now those blinds are there to this day. If the ducks and the conservation of the ducks was a worry, then the blind over by the Elston Park little sanctuary area would not have gone in there to Tommy Rowinski. There was a Hetty Creek blind that was okayed for a 20 gauge use spot only, which is in the line of fire of a house that's 420 feet. So if I'm shooting at 12 o'clock, this house is about 10 to 11 o'clock. That doesn't sound too safe to me.
Right, which one is that? I'll have to look into that one. Which one?
This is up at the head of Hetty Creek.
Okay,
It was not a spot, I believe, for 47 years or so. And it was given to a guy about, I believe, 2 to 3 years ago as a 20 gauge only spot. I know for a fact people have shot 12 gauges in this blind, so it's not being, it's just, I have a list of things. I'd rather not throw a bunch of people under the bus and all that, but.
well,
I
you're
have-
the people,
I have-
so you're gonna, so you got that one. Which other ones that you're talking about?
You got the one up in Hayground Creek that's shooting at the old Hotel St. James. That's shooting towards the highway, shooting towards the condos. There's a couple houses there. You got the one up in the head of Sag Creek that's shooting across the creek towards houses. You have the Price blind up in Mill Creek shooting across to, I don't know if it's B. Robinson's blind or Benny's blind, but they are all, under 700 feet to each other, shooting at each other. Peter Bertrand is shooting at Fran's blind here at the bottom of Mill Creek. Peter Bertrand's also shooting towards the Hagen blind up in Hayground Creek. There's just, I can go on and on about these
So,
blinds.
Mr. Mueller, Mr.
Yes.
Mueller, just keeping this to your spot, just addressing your concerns with your spot.
Right.
Can you just elaborate on that a bit?
So you're telling that you're saying that it's denied a spot because of public access, which I have public access. There's 4 public ramps close by that I can access the blind. It's not a bird sanctuary. Like I said, if we were worried about bird sanctuaries, then that blind would not have gone to Tommy Rowinski back up in the drain, all the way back up by Berglund's old property. So that's out. There's nothing there. And then the safe shooting direction, which is no houses around. The only shooting direction would be another blind that's 870 feet across the waterway. That blind is further than these 6 and 7 other blinds that are shooting at houses and shooting at other blinds. Like, you're trying to tell me I can't have a spot because I'll be shooting at Freddie Havemar's blind, but yet there's blinds out there shooting at each other in less of a distance. If a duck comes down there and say a duck comes down that creek and lands and Jamie takes a shot at it from his blind, he's under from Jamie's blind shooting down to Havemeyer is, I'm doing it here from blind to blind, not from where you guys have measurements on the map. He's 796 feet. And you can't tell me that he's going to stop and not shoot at the bird going that way. So it's just all sounds ridiculous to me. Like, there's no true answer of saying no to the spot.
Okay. Well, I will check out these other blinds, and if there's a controversy on them, we'll talk to the Bay Constables, and maybe they'll have to be shut down.
All right. And so, so that's it. It's just shut down. I get denied, and it's over.
Yes, that's usually the way it works with the trustees. The trustees make the ultimate decision. The Bay Constables usually assign it. We usually go with them. But if something gets more controversial, then we all look into it.
Right. So I would definitely look at the head of Hetty Creek. That's right there. That's like, it's ridiculous how close that is towards houses and worried about it. I don't know.
So
I don't
again,
even know who went
Mr.
down to measure this.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Mr. Mueller. Again, just sticking to your the spot that you're concerned about.
Right.
I understand that there was some miscommunication perhaps as far as the access to it, and that there is access by water and that you would use that access. You would not be traveling over your employer's land to get there.
No,
Because I know that was one thing that was a concern. The other thing that was
This
a
has
concern.
nothing to do with I'm here as a resident of Southampton for a duck blind in the trustee waters of Southampton.
Right.
There's nothing to do. I don't want to walk through my employer's property to get to my duck blind. I want to put my kids in the boat and cruise across like I do when I take them down clamming. I cross past this spot all the time. Access is not a problem.
And there was one other thing I think that there was some confusion or misinformation about, which was that your employer does have several blinds up in Scallop Pond, but you don't shoot those blinds, correct?
I don't, just like I help Phil Gay out. I don't have permission to shoot his blinds. I work with him. I don't have permission to shoot his blinds. So it's the same deal. I work for this guy. Has nothing to do with me in this duck blind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming down Scallop Pond Road, or I'm passing Bill Pell's house down the bottom and launching my boat right there and going out and passing Jamie as he's out there in his duck blind and going into my spot. That's totally legit. There's absolutely no reason to say no to it. I just don't get it, why it's not a spot. It was a spot. For some reason, it got taken away down the line. And if there's too many duck blinds in the area, again, then the one that's down to, let's see, the southeast of Havemeier's blind should not be there. If we're worried about too many blinds in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to clarify here. We're still at the public portion, Mr. Muller. The trustees have this on as a resolution later on in the agenda. They'll articulate, if they are going to vote for a denial, they'll articulate their reasoning for the denial, and then it will be closed from there, okay?
All right.
Yep. And if certain other instances come to light, then you're more than welcome to if the trustees decide to deny it, if the motion carries.
Okay.
Mr. Muller, just one more quick question. You do have a blind presently, right?
I do.
In another location?
It's in another location that's in the, it's surrounded by private property, which if I don't get permission from this one person, I believe I won't have access to that blind because the trustees don't have access to it. The houses that were built up towards the one side, they're saying that they don't want Groski's blind in the pond down there. So it's just going to be more of a hassle where there's no one going to be telling anybody about access or any of that. I mean, I feel like any of those the village ponds are all going to get shut down sooner or later because of houses going up. And, luckily I've been accessing this spot for the past 24 years. I've been duck hunting. And I'm just looking for a new spot. And the only way that I can get another spot in the town is if I find one or somebody doesn't want to duck hunt anymore and signs over the spot to me, and that's like waiting on I don't know, it's not going to happen. So the only way to get another duck blind here is for me to go out, do my homework, find a legit spot, and it's there. And there's I don't know what your final decision is going to be, but I believe it's a legal spot in every situation.
Okay.
Thank you for your thoughts
Okay, thanks.
on that.
All right.
Comment right now? Okay. All right. So
Thanks, Mr. Muller.
rest of the meeting now. Thanks for coming. Okay. Application for permits. Board of Trustees hereby waive a public hearing on the following applications because it's been determined that the following permits do not raise a significant degree of public interest or public input is not needed to aid in the decision-making process. First item on the agenda is Trustee Resolution 2021-22, application of Stuart S. Leiter, 7 Bayberry Lane, Remsenburg. This was brought up at work session and it was moved to go forward. So I make a motion and moved.
Second.
Scott seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Trustee Resolution 2021-23, application of Wendy Barron, 190 Dune Road, Village of West Hampton Beach, Monroe Bay. We addressed this work session to move forward. I make a motion that it be approved.
Second.
Second.
Scott seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Scott's
Trustee
next.
Resolution 2021-24. It's 59 Ramona Drive. It's a dredging project in Murphy's Cove. This is a problem spot that they're trying to remedy. It's Suffolk County Tax Map 0900 292-4-40. And I believe this should be moving forward. It's a problem spot that they're trying to deal with. So I'd like to see it move forward.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hold on one second.
Ed, do you have?
I'm
You got
sorry.
your paper, Ed?
Yes, I got it.
Who
You got
I
it
got
today?
it. I just waiting. Eric said, wait a
Wait.
second.
Yeah,
so I didn't-
just go ahead.
Lisa,
I'm sorry.
Wait, you guys,
I did not, was I not unable to hear who the second was?
Bill seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Resolution 2021-25, application for Colin and Brian Markley, 18 Middle Pond Road, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-234-3-34, body of water, Middle Pond. We vetted this at the work session. I recommend its approval. I need a second on that one.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
All-
Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Bill's next.
This is trustee resolution 2021-26, denial of new waterfowl hunting location application of Travis Meller, West Neck Creek, North Sea, New York. We had a hearing on this, and does the chairman wish to bring this up to a vote?
Yes. So do a roll call vote. If there's any questions on the motion, anybody want to add, or if they can explain it when they vote. So will Secretary Treasurer please call the roll as far as the votes.
Excuse me, Mr. President, you need a second to bring it onto the floor.
Second.
Second, Ed seconded.
Aye.
Okay.
I would like to, the trustee for the area is Trustee Pell.
Yes.
Your area, Bill, you have, I know you've worked on this extensively and you're concerned about issues. I mean, do you want to elaborate before we?
The one problem is the line of direction of closeness of shooting with the gun load. And another issue was needed another place for the birds to rest. It's overpopulated with duck blinds in that area. And also that's like muddy bottom. So at low tide, you can't really get up in there. You can't bring a dog there to retrieve the birds. You can't really walk. So it's like, it's a lot of negatives to that position. And so it's a very tough decision to go, which, you don't want to take a spot away or give a spot unless it's qualified. And I don't think there's enough qualification for this spot.
Okay. So you're voting.
So I'm gonna,
I'm going to vote to denial.
Okay.
all right, President Schultz.
I'm going to vote to deny this. This has been a very controversial spot, and I think it's too crowded looking at our last work session there. So,
Trustee Warner.
After reviewing the GIS photo that we were looking at, I believe adding another blind in this area would would have a negative impact on the hunting. So I'm going to vote for the denial of the proposal.
Trustee Welker.
we always want to encourage our young local residents, especially those who are passionate about their waterfowling. So this is a difficult situation, particularly given that the Bay Constables noted that it's legal distances. My concern is twofold. It's that historically in this area, there were several blinds, but there were only a few people who shot these several blinds, and that now is different today in that there are now basically is a different owner for each blind. So there's the opportunity for there to be many people shooting at the same time on a given day. And that's concerning to me, as is the pressure on the ducks with that many blinds. So I too will vote to deny it.
Okay. And just last but not least here, myself, I would commend Mr. Travis Muller, he certainly is a guy that does his homework, and I'm sure he'll continue to do his homework on other areas that may be of interest to him. But I also want to commend Trustee Pell because it's his area, and I know he did a lot of research on this, and I know he took into consideration also a lot of different variables to come up with his recommendation. And I'd like to commend him as well. And I will also add to the denial as well. And I hope Mr. Mueller is able to find a location that's satisfactory to him, because he certainly did and does do his homework. And he sounds like a professional hunter, and I hope he's successful in finding a spot.
Okay, so the resolution is denied unanimously. Okay. Next item on the agenda, Trustee Resolution 2021-27. Bill Pell's got that.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Can I just thank everybody for their time going over this? I
okay.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Good luck,
Thank you,
sir.
Travis.
Thank you.
Keep on
luck.
looking, keep on looking for another one. There's more
luck,
out
sir.
there.
Got you. I got 3 more spots I'll be heading to you guys for.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All
Keep
right.
doing your homework. You're doing a good job.
It's all done, boss. Have a good
Happy
one.
hunting.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the grandkid.
Thank you.
Bye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-27. Renewal application, first time for Judith E. Siegel. Permit number GP 000102 74 Spring Point Road, Tuckahoe, New York.
Mhm.
Tax map 0900-155-1-48, body of water is Cold Spring Pond. We discussed this a little bit at our work session for renewal, and it's not that funny, Ed.
Oh.
Yeah, I have this approved.
I'll second it.
Okay, second it. All in favor?
Hi,
Sorry, everybody.
Okay, all right.
we need some entertainment, Ed.
Uh,
Oh.
Trustee resolution,
Meetings. Ugh. Okay. Sorry.
that's okay. Trustee resolution 2021-28, renewal again, application first time for Briggs Ewell, permit number GP 00142, 7 Helen Lane, North Sea, tax map 0900-61-1-74, body of waters Fish Cove. I'd like to bring this forward again.
Second.
Okay, Scott seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
all right.
Trustee Resolution 2021-29, application is Noah Spirit, 1770 North Sea Road, tax map tax map 0900-761-1 10.1, body of water, North Sea.
Question on the motion,
yes.
motion on this one? Sorry to interrupt.
Question.
Did we put anything in here about the work not being done during alewife season?
No, we can do that. Put a covering on it.
Well,
Good idea.
okay.
Did we get the up-to-date plans, James?
Must have.
I believe we did, yes.
Okay, all right then. Can we put a cover that this should not be done, this work should not be done during the springtime with LY, the 6 weeks?
Ed, what should those dates be? March?
I would
Sure.
say the first
Let-
week of March to the first week of April is pretty much when they run up there.
I would put I put almost the last week of April. Depends on the water, it depends on the water temperature.
Do you
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean-
hold, or do you want to make a motion to amend this on the floor?
Yeah.
There
I
you
think-
go. Motion to
I-
amend it. You
Yeah.
can't just add a covenant.
Oh, I know. We're gonna do. So we're gonna make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion to amend this resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. Who?
I
Scott.
Me?
I was pretty fast on the gate there. Out of the gate.
Scott made the second on it to make a motion to amend this. So now,
We're going to add a general permit condition.
March 1st until the end of April. That would give you the whole run,
2 months.
start to finish.
Okay, where
March.
are we placing this language, please?
In the general conditions, March
Special-
1st.
Special permit conditions.
We're on 2021-29, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So further resolve, the following conditions shall apply?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
can you please tell me what the language is?
Dated, Eddie.
There will be no work done between March 1st and April 30th of any year to ensure that the LYs have a safe passage through this channel.
I'll second his motion.
Just one moment, please.
It's on tape, right?
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to amend. We do not have a vote on the motion to amend.
I seconded it.
Right, I have that. We just need to
Well-
have a,
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
and now to adopt.
Well,
Motion
do
to-
you have the language? Did you copy the language down?
I certainly did, yes.
Okay, okay.
Great job.
So make the motion to
Adopt.
Adopt as amended.
Adopt.
Second his motion to
Second.
adopt the amended resolution.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing
Trustee-
that up.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Sure.
Yep.
Trustee Resolution 2021-30, application 117 Cobb Isle Road LLC, 117 Cobb Isle Road, Watermill, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-160-3-31, body of water, Mecox Bay. This is to install a low-profile catwalk and a ramp and a floating dock. We discussed it extensively, and a kayak rack. We discussed it extensively at work session. I'd like to request its approval.
Second it.
Got seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I have a number of resolutions on here.
Okay,
A lot of housekeeping so that we can, stay in proper form, and move forward. First one is Resolution 2021-31, warrant 3. It's for $1,337.58. I'll give you the breakdown. Fisher Signs, $450. General Code LLC, $44.80. Home Depot Credit Services, $172.50. Interscience, $635. And WB Mason, $35.28 for $1,337.58. I suggest we pay our bills.
okay.
Second.
Bill seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Why not
Okay,
just,
now,
why don't I just second all these so it's easier on Lisa?
that's fine. Yeah, it's a lot of housekeeping here. So we got 2021-32. It's to authorize Interscience for professional services regarding our 10-year dredging permit from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Army Corps of Engineers for Mecox Bay, and
Right.
authorize the president to sign New York State DEC and Army Corps of Engineer permit documents. This motion needs a second, needs to
I'll
pass.
second that one.
Sorry, who's the second?
Ed, I'll second them all, makes it easier on Lisa there. I'll do a
Okay.
one all up. I'll second it.
All
All in
in
favor?
favor? Aye.
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 2021-33, authorize Interscience for professional services regarding the 10-year dredging permit from the New York State DEC and Army Corps of Engineers for Fresh Pond, and authorize the president to sign New York State DEC and Army Corps of Engineers paperwork and documents. As you are aware, any expenditure over $1,000 requires a resolution, and we want to authorize this resolution for an amount not to exceed $5,000.
Okay.
Needs a second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Okay, 2021-34, authorized continuation of legal services by Con and Con, whereas the Board of Trustees resolution requires an authorizing resolution for any expenditure in excess of $1,000. Whereas Southampton Town trustees continue to retain legal services by Con and Con PC on matters relating to Stroud versus the Village of West Hampton Dunes. We need to pass this resolution.
Okay, second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Trustee Resolution 2021-35, authorize the continuation of retaining the professional service of Joseph Lombardo Joseph Lombard proposed a reduced rate of $100 per hour on each matter he is assigned to. This is for non-litigation matters, including but not limited to representation as needed pending legislation, negotiations, and trustee board meetings. We do, use him at that capacity as well at the reduced rate. But we need a resolution to continue those services, and this resolution needs a second to.
So hold question on the motion here. Can you just, I'm not sure I am all the way clear on the difference between professional services for consulting and legal services.
Well, sometimes the case, it's directly like in the Bayman's case, say he's directly acting as an attorney and he's going to court and he's going to meetings,
Right.
representing us as an attorney. But in another aspect, he's working with us and has worked with us on the trustee roads issue, where we're trying to, collaborate with the town board and everybody else in finding a solution where we would be able to provide the public safety and take care of all the necessary needs that there are on the trustee roads without bankrupting the trustees' general budget, where we need counsel, guidance, and representation, where he's working with us. It's two different levels. So at the one, he's working at a reduced rate, and the other, he's working at the different rate, which is why it required, clear-cut resolutions and
Two separate
understanding.
resolutions.
Research versus, litigation.
Or representation.
Yep.
Right.
But
So,
but he's being billed out of the same account or charged out of the same account as, for example, InterScience, who does
Consulting,
and
professional consulting.
also Dr. Robert Young, who does expert testimony.
Okay.
So
it's lumped into the consultant's GL code. What it is we don't have it broken out. It's just consultants and legal. So if it's a legal, clearly legal, like we got another resolution for the same person at a different capacity, it's going to come out of the legal GL code. Whereas if he's working as a consultant type basis, it's coming out of the consultants. And then if the board has to balance or adjust these GL amounts as we move through the year and we see where we are, then we can move, from one to the other. If we see we're light in one spot and heavy in another, and we need to do that. But that's how we would be able to track, the board can track how much was done for consulting and how much was done, for legal matters.
Right.
it's just, I'm just wondering whether it's necessary, because to my knowledge at this point, has there been any work done by Mr. Lombardo on the trustee road issue?
Well, there's going to be, there's perhaps going to be, in order for us to even engage him properly, we need to pass a resolution, and we need to have that in place, so that if we need him to do this, that is one example, and there may be other examples moving forward. We still need to pass a resolution. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to engage, but you certainly then have that clearly defined and you're ready to go. You don't have to scramble. There is a lot of action going on relative to these trustee roads at this point in time, because there's been a very productive dialogue that, Sean Cambridge is aware of as well, where we are in collaboration with the town, supervisor, council, and the comptroller on, trying to find, a resolution towards that one particular aspect, and getting that where we can continue to provide services and, protect the public from public safety issues that arise on days that we pointed out, like yesterday and last night, with trees falling and icy roads. That's ongoing right now. We're just trying to schedule the next meetings, and Sean has done a substantial amount of research as well. So we do have active, and the reality is that just in that one example, Joe is a guy that was tasked to help guide the board through, because perhaps there's some roads that we don't even own. Okay. Right. And he's got some more information on that. So he's doing that type of research so that we don't.
Scott's free.
Right. So
Erica,
that's why, and so this way we
That's freezing up.
clean it up. I'm seizing up.
Is that happening with everybody or just
I don't
him?
know.
No,
I don't know. But this is also a lot, a lot of this is, when you get
Okay.
into
Do we have Charles, do we have a systemic problem or is it just Scott?
no, Eric, I think it's you. It's Scott's fine.
Anyway.
Scott is okay with me.
Anyway, that it's dot I and cross T on the resolution so the board can move freely about the country, what we do and who we hire, and how and so forth. I mean, those are all board discussions.
It's transparency and accountability on how we use Joe. He has two hats he wears, how he works with us. So I think it makes it very transparent to the public. He's getting paid $100 an hour versus his, consulting for an attorney, which is more. So I think it's
right. That's a separate resolution for him as legal services. I mean, he's working on for example, Brookhaven Bayman case that's been going on for a long time. That's the next resolution. So this way it clearly sets him. We know how much it costs when he's doing consultation work. It's the dotting of the I and the crossing of the T. And, it's just,
yes,
like he said.
It just seems to me, though, that it's a bit of double dipping, where I understand you're trying to make it be clear. I understand that there's separate things that perhaps he's working on, but if we have town appointed counsel in Mr. Cambridge, why are we additionally hiring the services of Mr. Lombardo? And particularly it's concerning to me, the final line where it states in an amount not to exceed budget. So it's just a free pass here.
Let me add something here for a second. We are assigned a town attorney. Okay. Now he's supposed to be there to make sure that we're following correct procedure at a hearing. However, when it comes down to it, that attorney, regardless of who it is, answers to the town board. And sometimes those interests divest. The town trustees have taken the town to court at certain times, so that the town's position, and especially in light of some positions that have happened recently, necessitate that we have someone, regardless of whether it's Mr. Lombardo or anyone else, to talk to about our separate interests being addressed.
Okay, so I'm not sure I agree with you there, because isn't it, as a professional, you're working for your client. So therefore, we are Mr. Cambridge's clients.
No,
right.
Case.
Right.
So
right. Well, let me just jump in here for a second. I agree. You're correct. And let me just give you my take on this, because you are. All right. So we're sitting as trustees for a trust. So the reality is we're representing that trust. So in my view, one of the first responsibilities of a trustee is to assure the beneficiaries of the trust that you have non-conflicted legal counsel. Okay.
Right.
Now, Sean does a great job, but
Yep.
he is in a tough situation because
Yes.
his paycheck is signed by the town board and the supervisor, but he's representing us on procedure and whatnot. But we have a fiduciary responsibility to the beneficiaries of the trust that the legal counsel that we have is totally loyal to that trust. And I think that we have a duty and a responsibility to have also an outside counsel, just so that we can assure those beneficiaries that that is the case. Okay. So it's not a bad thing. It's an extra layer. I mean, as a guy who likes to watch the dollars very carefully here, things that are clear cut, that are Sean's responsibility. The guy's brilliant and he does a phenomenal job. But then there are other situations where we really need to assure the beneficiaries that trust that, we've consulted with clearly non-conflicted counsel. And I think that you need to have that as an option for the trustees to fully do their job the right way. We can all
Okay.
watch the dollars, but I think it's important. So to your point, I agree with you, and that's why I think it's important that we do this.
Okay, so then to address a prior comment, so when you look back at the contract with InterScience, it says clearly in an amount not to exceed $5,000. So why is there not a cap put as well on Mr. Lombardo's consulting services?
We can do that, and I don't have a
Well,
problem with that.
we don't have yeah, we could put a cap on there. But the reality is, if we get into something with these outside issues, we're going to have to do whatever it is that we need to do. And the reality is, relative to Mr. Lombardo, there are very few people, lawyers, attorneys that understand the trustees, that have spent so much time reviewing the legal decisions that could advise the trustees and knowing the intricacies. It's a very specialized field. You
Yeah.
can't, Sean, it takes, as brilliant as he is, it takes a lot of time to get up to speed. Joe has been dealing with these issues for years and years, and there's a benefit to the trustees in having, somebody that is
Attorney who represented us in the town hall.
well versed. So, we're going to watch the money very carefully and use him where we feel that we need to use him. And obviously on the, meat and potatoes, that's Sean Cambridge, does a great job.
Right.
But you also need other options. And,
Is there anything legality wise that we need to be concerned about if Mr. Lombardo is practicing outside of his legal jurisdiction with this?
He's just advising us of how certain court cases would affect us. It's the same as if we went to any other lawyer or any other consultant in town. This particular person has a vast knowledge of how trustee operations are, being a former town attorney and an attorney assigned to the deputy town attorney and attorney assigned to the trustees. Has a wealth of knowledge on the patents. He's Mr. Khan, who we trust with many of our cases, uses him on a routine basis to run opinions of it, and he's going to be second chair in the major case that we're embarking on in West Hampton Dunes. So, I mean, as far and for the price, I think that it's a very good deal to just run it by somebody.
I think we're at a tough spot right now. I think that with all the problems that we're facing, with the threats that we're dealing with, and there's certainly threats. I mean, there's a lot of concerns among the public relative to, various different issues. I think it's an all hands on deck situation.
Yes.
So if you have people that have the knowledge and expertise, we need to be able to have access to them if they're going to benefit all the rights that the beneficiaries of this trust are entitled to, that we have been entrusted as trustees. So, I mean, we have budgets that are set, obviously, that we vote on at the beginning of the year for consulting and for legal. And obviously, we try and maintain a substantial fund balance, because when you are defending these things, you have to have that cushion. And if, God forbid, we need to go into that cushion, we can. The reality is, if we're defending things that are in the interest of everybody in this community, my view is that all elected officials should be standing shoulder to shoulder, and we should be working together on these aspects where the trustees have been just paying. But we do have a budget set that we voted on, and we can manage this very carefully and very closely. And obviously, you guys know, you pick up the paper and you read a whole new thing, and the game changes in 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
These resolutions are resolutions that are required, by the comptroller's office to maintain, proper relationships and clearly defined amounts that people are being paid for this different rate here. Obviously, we use consulting, so we know, and so forth. So I appreciate your concern, and they're all very good questions. It's just that, we're trying to be transparent with what we're doing here, and we're trying to make sure we have all the tools that are available to us to do the job as trustee at this point in time.
Can I make one comment? One of the best skill sets as a trustee is having institutional knowledge. Joe's been on working for the trustees the whole time I've been on the board, 15 years. And he actually started back when my father was a trustee, and my father worked with him also. And he comes to the table with this probably 20 plus years, maybe longer, of institutional knowledge about the trustees' workings, the town's workings, and how everything kind of melds together and works together. And, he wouldn't need to do research on many of the projects that we've been asking him to do, because it would just be something we're remembering in the past. So given that skill set, I think he's a good person for this fit. And I think paying him $100 an hour for research and for his, basically what he needs to get to us as far as, information and stuff like that, it is well worth it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's put it up to a vote then. So,
All right, so I'll make a motion. I just, I think we need to pass 2021-35, which was the authorization for the continuation of retaining the professional services of Joseph Lombardo for consulting.
Can we call the roll?
I second it. Call the roll, Scott.
Okay, so we've got, he seconded it. We've got trustee Warner.
I'm in favor of it for what I just stated, because I think it's the money that we're spending is well worth what we're getting for the services.
That's an
So I'm in
aye.
favor. It's an aye.
Trustee Pell. You got to turn your
I agree with Ed. I'm in favor of it, and he's well worth what we get from him. And he's a lot of knowledge, and he's been there, and he's going to be there for the future.
All right, trustee Welker.
Yes.
I believe that my prior questions have clearly enumerated my concerns over this, and I vote no.
Okay, Scott, you got to call me.
Trustee Schultz.
Okay. I vote yes. Aye.
Okay. So motion carries.
Scott, you didn't take your own vote.
I made the motion, so I'm voting in favor of it.
Okay.
Okay,
Motion carries.
motion carries 4-1.
Okay.
Next one is 2021-36. It's an authorization of continuation of legal services for Joseph Lombardo. He's 2021-15 requires an authorizing resolution for any expenditure in excess of $1,000. The Board of Trustees continues to retain legal services by Joseph Lombardo Esquire on matter related to Brookhaven Bayman versus the town trustees. Further resolved, his legal services are doubled out of the consultant rate, $200 per hour plus costs for any disbursements or expenses. I think Joe's been doing a good job on this. He's got all the facts of this case, and I think he should continue with that. So I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second it. Question on any motion, or are we ready to roll?
You want me to call the roll, or you just want to vote?
Need a second to bring it to the floor?
I second it. Seconded.
Eric, President Schultz has seconded it.
Anybody want to have any other further conversations on it? No, so okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, so carried. Okay.
All right, so 2021-37, authorized suspension for the designated newspapers for 2021. Designated Southampton Town Press, Western Eastern Editions is the official newspaper for the Board of Trustees for the year 2021, whereas the Board of Trustees requires an authorizing resolution for any expenditure in excess of $1,000. So I'd like to make this resolution.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
The 2021-38 authorized purchases from U.S. Communities contract with Amazon Services LLC. Amazon Services holds a current cooperative contract with Omnia Partners for online marketplace for the purchases of products and services under contract number RTC-17006. This contract remains in effect until January 18th, 2022. So this online marketplace is one of the areas that they utilize, and we need to pass a resolution for them to be able to do that. So I'd like to make the motion.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Motion carries. Okay, so bearing in mind that we have two executive sessions, we have, anybody want to make any comments?
Just really quickly, SAG and MECOX are both open. They both opened themselves. And I believe that the 30-day review period for the 10-year permit for MECOX has concluded. So I'll be following up to see what the timeline looks like going forward with this.
Okay.
Do we know if anybody has sent anything in against the project that we're looking to, the dredging project?
Yes, there were a couple things that were submitted that had raised concerns about the trustees.
Do we will be able to review them, or is that something that we would have to foil for?
They were forwarded to the trustees all email. I can re-forward any public comment and we can discuss them privately on the executive session. You have outside counsel first, and then you have me after on a bridge call today.
Okay, can you send them over, please?
Sean, I just moved second discussion to 3:30, so we can do you first, okay?
Sean, you're muted.
Sean, you there?
Sean, you're muted.
You all received email directions for the bridge call. So
Okay.
once we end this meeting and move to confidential legal, we can all dial in. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm going to have you do it first, okay? Did you hear that? Okay.
So we're going to do that right after the meeting. We're calling a bridge call.
Yes. Yeah, give it about 5 minutes after the meeting so we can get some things straightened out here.
Lisa,
All right.
did you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to know, are you, Jessica needs to participate in this, the bridge conference call.
Okay.
And I should listen in as well, since it's pertaining to office policy.
All right, well, we can put it on speaker and we can sit in the conference room if you want with masks.
I can
That's-
call in right here from my office. I have the information.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
Okay. All right, so we need a
Okay.
motion to close to go into executive session?
Does anybody else have anything to say today?
No, we got a
Okay,
lot
I'll
of
make a motion.
stuff.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to close the meeting. Have a second? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Turn to executive
Aye.
session for the purposes of,
Move to executive session for purposes of litigation and other matters,
So
legal matters.
what are we coming back on at 3 o'clock?
no, you're going to do the bridge conference call first, Ed.
In 5
Yeah.
minutes,
Make it at 2 to 3.
5 to 3.